Question, the member from Simcoe North.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question today is for the Minister of Training, College and Universities. Minister, last week your Minister of Economic Development and Trade basically rubber-stamped the compulsory certification of carpentry. Basically, he did this without any knowledge, he did that with any knowledge of the industry and saying that a decision had already been made. That is in contrast to you and the Ontario College of Trade, who claim that compulsory certification of carpentry is industry-driven. So, Minister, is the compulsory certification of carpentry a done deal, and is your government about to rubber-stamp a deal that will cripple the construction industry in Ontario and cost tens of thousands of jobs right here in Ontario?
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Don't say. Minister of Training, College and Universities.
Of course not, Mr. Speaker. We set up the College of Trade so that these decisions could be made in a evidence-based, rational environment.
Absolutely.
Unlike the party opposite, Mr. Speaker, whose view is these decisions should be made in back rooms at the Albany Club. That's the way the decisions were made in the past, Mr. Speaker, not in the future. We respect the skilled trades more than that. We believe, Mr. Speaker, that these decisions ought to be made by people who are involved in the skilled trades, Mr. Speaker, who understand the challenges involved, who understand the impacts on the skilled trades, understand the impacts on the economy, understand the impacts on Ontarians. That's why we set up the College of Trades, Mr. Speaker. So in answer to the member's question, of course not. That's a decision ultimately, if an application were to come forward, would go through the proper process.
Supplementary.
Well, at least they're not making the decision in Pat Dillon's living room. Okay. Minister, the compulsory certification of carpentry is really only supported by one group, and that's the Carpenters Union. We all know that the membership in the Ontario College of Trades is nothing more than a new trades tax. You know that. The whole province knows that. Yep. The third party, the NDP, clearly do not support any new, and I quote, taxes, tolls or fees on the working class. And the Labourers Union, LiUNA, they detest the compulsory certification of carpentry. So my question is, are you prepared to cripple the construction industry in Ontario by rubber-stamping the compulsory certification of carpentry, or will you side with the NDP and LiUNA and demand no new taxes and save thousands of jobs right here in our province?
Thank you. Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Minister.
It really is time for the member to start leveling with Ontarians and start talking factually about what the College of Trades is about, Mr. Speaker, and stop trying to say things that simply, Mr. Speaker, aren't in keeping with the facts. If he's got a good argument, Mr. Speaker, he can make that argument by factually making that argument rather than making things up. Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter is that the College of Trades is set up to deal with these kinds of issues. These are challenging decisions, Mr. Speaker. They have to be made in a rational environment. They have to be evidence-based. They have to consider impacts on the economy. They have to consider impacts on Ontarians, and they have to consider impacts on the skilled trades. Mr. Speaker, in the past, these decisions were made in government back rooms, or not made at all, Mr. Speaker, and ignored. We set up a structure now, Mr. Speaker, that allows for an evidence-based consideration of these decisions. That, I think, is the way of the future. That respects the skilled trades. That ensures, Mr. Gill.
Thank you. That's it. Final supplementary.
Thank you very much. And someday, Minister, I'd like to give you a briefing on the trades in Ontario. Okay? You might learn about it. Minister, I understand the wedge you are put in here. The Ontario College of Trades is nothing more than a new trades tax. And, Speaker, even today, tens of thousands of hairstylists formed a new association and have joined the Stop the Trades Tax campaign with a new Cut the Salon Tax campaign. Yes. So with thousands of apprentices and journey persons candidates about to be put out of work on April the 8th, and with your compulsory certification of carpentry about to kill tens of thousands of construction jobs here in Ontario, and with a bunch of cop wannabes harassing the tradespeople of Ontario, and now with a new Stop the Salon Tax, don't you think it's about time you actually listen to me and join with Tim Hudak and the PC caucus and abolish this pathetic College of Trades once and for all?
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I listen to the member every time he gets up. The problem is what he says isn't in keeping with the facts, Mr. Speaker. So I can listen till the cows come home, but, Mr. Speaker, I'm waiting to hear something sensible from the member that's really going to help us drive forward the skilled trades, Mr. Speaker. Help us build stronger skilled trades in this province. If we had listened to the member opposite, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to ratios between apprentices and journey persons, we would have ended up exactly where we were under them when they were in government, where they had 0 reductions in trade ratios, Mr. Speaker. Since we've been in office, since the College of Trades has been in place, they've reduced trade ratios by 14. Mr. Speaker, that's a pretty significant difference in approaches. We're getting things done. We're doing it in an evidence-based, rational way, allowing tradespeople, Mr. Speaker, to have the respect to be able to self-govern their own industry.
Answer.
We have confidence in those decisions. We have confidence they can do the job. It's too bad that you don't.
Thank you. New question, the Leader of the Third Party.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the